The reason for poverty is government. I don't know where people got the idea that government is for the people and by the people and all that. The government is, has been, and always will be the greatest enemy of humanity. When you have hierarchies of power, all these institutions have a pyramid structure where the person at the top has all the power and the people at the bottom have only a little bit of power. And that structure exists in mainstream religion. It exists in all governments. Every government has that pyramid structure, and it exists in corporations. So when you have that kind of a structure, it will attract every psychopath on the planet, because that's what psychopaths crave. They crave power and money, but mostly power. Money only as far as it gives them more power. And so now you have every psychopath in the country competing for every position, and everything from town councilor to a local city mayor to provincial employees. It's all full with psychopaths. It's always been that way since earliest recorded history, and that's why government is always going to be evil, even if it was somehow possible to have a government populated by people that have integrity and honesty. Even if it was possible, let's say we have a magic wand and we can turn all these people into, decent, honest people. The government still cannot have empathy for the people because it's a collective. A collective can never have empathy. Individuals, you and me, we can have empathy, we can have compassion, we can worry about our fellow man. The government, being a collective, cannot worry about that. It is going to follow the internal playbook of all organizations, and it cannot care about you. So the government, even if you have good people in there, the government cannot care about you. And the fact is, we don't have good people. We never did have good people. Forget about, the golden days of politics and we could vote. No, that never existed. We'll vote them out. No, there hasn't been an honest election in at least 200 years. And I would argue there has never, ever been an honest election. They're always going to be tampered with because psychopaths rule the world. They don't care about honest elections. They care about getting power. And so guaranteed they will throw every election. So already going back 150 years, you couldn't even have an honest mayoral election. The police were more corrupt than the gangsters. This is all well known back in those days. And this is always what happens when you have psychopaths running things. So they're hand in hand with organized crime, always. We know that the Kennedys are good friends with organized crime. And many politicians, they're all in bed with it, with the mafia. And the police, for the most part, were always corrupt because the governments wouldn't pay the police enough. And so in order to earn a living, the police had to resort to, extortion and writing tickets. Well, they're doing that right now in mainland China. The Chinese government, the CCPs, are completely run out of money. The entire country is a basket case. What they're doing now, the police there, they don't have money to pay the police. So what the police do is they set up roadblocks on all the major highways, and they pull over everybody that's driving a motorcycle or an e-bike. And they're saying, it's not compliant with code, or there's, you have a violation, or your license isn't up to date, and they confiscate all those vehicles, hundreds of thousands of motorcycles, and they put them on the back of trucks and they drive them all out to this big parking lot where they have acres and acres of motorcycles, all this stored there, and the owners, if they want their motorcycle back, have to pay a fine to go get it. So this is the way police forces have worked for almost since the beginning. In order to pay themselves, they have to resort to fines and punishments and extortion. You have to pay the cops to make sure they don't arrest you. So you have, a corrupt government, you have a corrupt police department, and you have a bunch of gangsters, and they control the voting process. Things have not changed much since then, so voting doesn't work. Everybody should know that by now. I don't know why people still think that government and voting should work. So anyways, to answer your question, the government is responsible for just about every evil in the world, because you are being ruled by the equivalent of serial killers. You've got Jeffrey Dahmer, you've got John Wayne Gacy, you've got the Green River Killer. Except now they're wearing suits and they call themselves mayor and congressman and president. But there's no difference. They're all psychopaths. I tried to warn people about the nature of psychopaths. They're an evil that you cannot comprehend. Most normal people will never get their head around how evil these people are. So whatever horror movie you've ever seen, you got to understand that politics is worse than any horror movie you've seen. These people are monsters. And so, why are we poor? Well, because the psychopaths stole all your money. How many people here complain about the taxes anymore? How many protests are there against taxes? We got protests about tranny this and LGBT that and Black Lives Matter. Oh my God, lots of protests about that, but not people about you are being taxed literally to death. Okay, so the government cannot run a healthcare system. It can't, because you got psychopaths in charge, and then below the psychopaths are whole armies of total morons that can't do anything right. So I don't. Here in Canada, we have free healthcare. Try to get an appointment with the doctor. Go to an emergency room with a heart attack and wait 14 hours in a chair in the reception area. So now what did they do in the past? This brings me back to what I've been preaching for the last 5 years, is forming communities and mutual aid societies. So in the past, who provided medical and healthcare? It was the mutual aid societies. It was the Foresters. It was the Elks Club. It was the Oddfellows Club. It was, the Women of the Southern Revolution, or whatever. They had all kinds of funny names. But it was people pooling their money. And the way these mutual aid societies worked was a membership fee of 1 day's wages per year. Per year. And for your 1 day's membership fee, you were provided with free health care for the whole year. That's your provided health care. Not only did that work out very well, because again, as soon as the government takes control of something, they loot it from top to bottom. And so whatever money is spent for health care, we're going to, budget so many $1 billion for health care. Yeah, but by the time that money actually gets down to the nurses and doctors, 80% has been stolen by the bureaucrats and the senators and the kickbacks and the congressmen. And everybody's in there with their hand in that kitty. They're all taking gobs and gobs of cash. So what money is left that actually goes to build the hospital and hire the staff is very small. Now, when you run that yourself through a mutual aid society, 100% of the money you collect goes to the hospital. So these mutual aid societies are more efficient because you don't have 10,000 psychopaths trying to steal money. You have people that that are working class people. Often, they'll do these mutual aid societies according to your industry. So if you're a carpenter, you might belong to a carpenter's club, and everybody that's in the club is a fellow carpenter. And again, this only works in what we call a high trust society, which is what we used to have before a certain group of people infiltrated our countries and started spreading this nonstop poison that everybody's evil, everybody's out to screw you, you gotta be careful. No, everybody's not evil. I still get this all the time. Everybody's evil. No, they're all evil. No, stop listening to the TV, okay? Not everybody in the world is evil. There are still good people. We trust each other. We work together. So going back to these mutual aid societies, like the Foresters, they're still around to this day. But they don't do what they used to do. It was completely different. Well, because the government came in and destroyed all these mutual aid societies. They targeted specifically the government and the Rockefeller Medical Association. They went after these guys and made sure that they were all put out of business within a couple of decades. They were all gone. But before the government and the Rockefellers came after them, the money they collect and making sure that all that money is spent actually going to the doctors and the nurses, they built their own hospitals. They built modern 8-story tall hospitals with terminal care. They even built their own old age homes. They even bought their own cemeteries. All of that was paid for by people with their annual fee. 1 day's work. So today would be, let's say, your yearly fee would be between $150 to $200. That's what most people make in a day, right? That would be all you had to pay. And from that $100 to $200 that the association received, they had so much, because you receive it year after year after year after year. You have 20,000 members, 30,000 members, because people see how successful this is, and they go, wait a minute, I'd like to get in on this healthcare system. Well, how do I join? Well, $100 a year. Okay, $100 a year, I'm in. And so the memberships rose to hundreds of thousands of people in some instances. Now you're talking millions and tens of millions of dollars. And all of it goes to doing what it's supposed to do. And there was an excess. There was more money than they could spend. And that's when they started building their own hospitals, their own medical clinics, their own dentists, their own retirement homes, and not only that, they still had so much money that they started doing summer camps for the kids, and they started giving scholarships to send members to university, which a lot of them still do now, like the Rotarians and the Lions Club. They all have scholarships. Right? There's no way you get to be the president of Kenya without being a psychopath, please. And psychopaths can't see themselves. There's one thing they don't have. They can't self-reflect. They don't have self-awareness. Same thing with pathological narcissists. They can never think that anything they do is wrong. Everything they do is right. Oh, that 6-year-old had to be raped. I did the right thing. They can't conceive of anything that they do could be wrong. So, of course, he's not going to take responsibility. Have any of these politicians ever, anywhere in the EU or the United States or Canada or anywhere in the world, ever got up on the stage and said, we screwed it up. We take responsibility for the high inflation. We take responsibility for the unemployment rate. We take responsibility. Never. They never do that because they're all psychopaths. Psychopaths will never take responsibility. They have no guilt. They have no remorse. And they don't think they've ever done anything wrong. Oh, we had to kill those 20 million people because, it was for the better of the society.
For the greater good.
Yeah, it was for the greater good. Yeah, we had to murder 200 million people for the greater good. They'll never take responsibility. So that's one reason. And then the other reason is always deflect. Always deflect. Right? That's the other thing politicians do. Well, it wasn't me, it was the Republicans. No, it wasn't me, it was the Democrats. And it was studying World War I that woke me up to the psychopaths. Because I studied the history and I went, how could this happen? Who was in charge? How could they get these boys, 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, to sit in a mud hole for 3 years, freezing their asses off, constantly wet and dirty, and the rats are eating their toes? How can they do that? Now, I studied a lot of military strategy. I could have ended World War I in 2 months. Because I would not have told everybody to dig a goddamn hole and sit in it. My God, It was just madness. And I remember thinking, who are these people that are running this war? Well, let's look at one, General Pershing. Oh, famous guy. He's got a big bronze statue at West Point, General Pershing. And they named the tank after him in World War II, the Pershing tank. Well, General Pershing, on October 11th, 1918, 3 hours before the war was going to end, right? This was 11/11/11, right? Launched a full frontal attack on German positions. And like 3,000 boys got shot. A full frontal attack on guys sitting with machine guns. It's insanity. It's just madness. It's like, you know, if I were to tell all my students, get in your car and drive as fast as you can into that brick wall. I mean, of course they're all going to die. That's what they know that was going to happen. And this bastard, General Pershing, who was a big hero, still is a big hero in America. He got the message from headquarters saying, we are going to sign the armistice at 11 o'clock today. That will end the war. And 2 hours before that, he launches a full-scale attack. Because why? Well, he didn't kill enough of his own troops. His own troops he's killing. This is the people we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with. So, World War I, completely unnecessary. The government's conspired to put that together. And they could have ended 2 years earlier, but no, they didn't want to let it end 2 years earlier because they're making too much money. World War II, I don't care what anybody, Hitler was not trying to take over the world. That was all bullshit. All he wanted to do was evict certain people that were causing a lot of trouble from his country. And who could blame him? I wish I could evict them from the United States and Germany and Canada and France. It was completely unnecessary. All those poor, German farm boys and baker's sons butchered and slaughtered. Never mind, things like Dresden and the war camps. What's his name? Put all those German prisoners of war. Murdered Eisenhower. He murdered like 2 million prisoners of war. 2 million prisoners of war. He murdered them. Yeah. He started let them starve to death, and that was it. Easy way to kill people. All of those deaths are on the hands of government. So even if we, it's bad enough the figures for genocide, but you can double, triple those figures when you include all the other stuff the government does to kill its own citizens, and wars and experiments and murdering and starving and injecting people with poison and oh my God, it goes on and on and on. So on the list, major causes of death. Number one, your government. So don't for a minute think that the government's out to protect you or the government provides necessary services. I think I've already debunked that. They don't provide any necessary services. They just provide another excuse to tax you and rob you blind. That's what their services are. So that's the number one cause of misery in the world is your government. And the further you can separate yourself from your government, that's why I tell people to, incorporate. And if you're working for a company, tell them you want to be hired as a subcontractor, because as a subcontractor, you have all kinds of tax deductions. You can write off your mortgage payment. You can write off your car payment against your wages, right? Because I need a car to do my job. I'm a subcontractor. So you can write that all off against your taxes. As little money as you pay the government as possible. That should be the goal of everybody. So, incorporate, like I do business under my name, Stephen Verstappen. It's a business, right? So, we got to form communities to look after each other.
This is Jason with Archaics.com, and I'm telling you, be like Nike and just do it. There is a wizard within you, I promise. We all come from different walks of life, and I don't have to tell many of you, you already know, life will kick you in the ass. So, we don't all come with a silver spoon. We don't all come from money. We gotta work for what we got. We gotta struggle. Still struggling. But there are methods by which we can measure the rhythm of our ways. We can walk through this life like a lion, and things will happen for us. There is a power in boldness, assertiveness. There is a fundamental power in confidence. It cannot be measured. It's not quantifiable. Reality itself is non-local. The human imagination is not governed by anything that's even measurable in Newtonian physics. Some of you have experienced the exact same things I have. This video is meant to help just those few people who can get it, who grasp it, can take from it. If you're a critic, then you're a critic for a reason. If you put a barrier up between you and any new data that you come across, you can rest assured that new data will be protected against you. There's no better way to say it. Enjoy this presentation, get from what you can, because there's some gems in here. This is Jason, Archaics.com, and have a blessed day.